And as for you, if you will walk before me as David your father walked, doing according to all that I have commanded you and keeping my statutes and my rules, then I will establish your royal throne, as I covenanted with David your father, saying, You shall not lack a man to rule Israel. 2 Chronicles 7:17-20. The curse on King Jehoiachin of Judah was a divine decree issued by the prophet Jeremiah, declaring that none of his biological descendants would ever sit on the throne of David and rule in Judah. The curse's relationship to Shealtiel as Jehoiachin's son presents a significant theological puzzle, particularly because Shealtiel's line eventually includes Zerubbabel, a prominent Jewish governor, a predecessor of the possible Jewish Messiah. Shealtiel lived during the exile in Babylon, circa early 6th century BCE. Although personally he never ruled in Jerusalem, his birth kept the Davidic dynasty alive among the deportees. Compare 2 Kings 24:10-16. Through his son Zerubbabel, the family returned to Judah following Cyrus's decree, Ezra 1:1-4. Thus, Shealtiel forms the crucial bridge between the dethroned kings of Judah and the restored community in the Persian period. The prophet Jeremiah's curse on Jehoiachin, also called Coniah or Jeconiah, is recorded in Jeremiah 22:28-30. A childless record, God commanded, "Write this man down as childless." This was a legal decree to mark the end of the royal line, even though Jehoiachin would go on to father children in exile. A failed reign, Jehoiachin would not prosper in his lifetime. No throne for his descendants. None of his offspring shall succeed in sitting on the throne of David and ruling again in Judah. The biblical text presents several complexities regarding Shealtiel's place in the genealogy, which ancient Jewish scholars and later Christian theologians have tried to resolve. Some rabbinical traditions suggest that Jehoiachin's genuine repentance in prison led God to lift or modify the curse. This is supported by the fact that his grandson, Zerubbabel, was elevated to power by God, who referred to him as a signet ring, reversing the signet ring imagery used in Jeremiah's curse against Jehoiachin. Ultimately, Shealtiel represents a bridge between the old royal house of Judah and the hopes of the exiled community for restoration. Jehoiachin's grandson Zerubbabel prospered and ruled. In fact, the same words God used in rejecting Jeconiah were deliberately used in establishing Zerubbabel. "As surely as I live, declares the Lord, even if you, Jehoiachin, son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, were a signet ring on my right hand, I would still pull you off." Jeremiah 22:24. On that day, declares the Lord Almighty, I will take you, my servant Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, declares the Lord, and I will make you like my signet ring, for I have chosen you, declares the Lord Almighty. Haggai 2:23. Remember, friends, Jew or Gentile, we are forbidden to add or subtract from the Torah. Doing so is creating an image in our minds of God that is false. This is a form of idolatry. Deuteronomy 13:1. In simple Karaite logic, we conclude that in Jeremiah 22:30, in his lifetime qualifies the following phrases, and 4 explains that no descendant of his will prosper and rule during his lifetime. We find rabbinic sources which also agree that God reversed the curse on Jeconiah, which they attribute to repentance on Jeconiah's part. We even find the idea that the Messiah will descend from Jeconiah, exactly the opposite of what some say is impossible. However, in hindsight, how did these revelations help the pedigree for the Christian Messiah, Jesus? Not only was the pedigree found in the Gospel of Matthew inaccurate, Its use case argument and burden of proof of Jesus' pedigree from King David's throne is nothing more than a straw man's truth at best. At best, Joseph was the stepfather of Jesus, since Christians claim his virgin or divine birth of no earthly father. The pedigree of Mary means nothing in respect to Jewish surnames and bloodlines. In closing arguments, consider once again Matthew. The 14 generations foretold for Jesus in Matthew are not entirely accurate in terms of a strict historical count, but are considered a stylized, intentional structure designed to emphasize Jesus' messianic lineage as the King of Israel and a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Matthew's genealogy includes omissions of kings and discrepancies with the Old Testament to maintain the symbolic 14-generation structure, suggesting a divine plan through the imagination by Christian authors rather than a precise historical record. Remember, friends, Jew or Gentile, we are forbidden to add or subtract from the Torah. Doing so is creating an image in our minds of God that is false. This is a form of idolatry. Deuteronomy 13:1.